All right, everybody, Astrocatical here, and welcome to the report. We are just going to be discussing some news and events within the world of survival horror, which I feel at this point may barely be hanging on by a single thread. But I do believe there is hope in the horizon. Not necessarily that the AAA industry is going to begin doing things that we want them to do. I think they're still going to carry out this experimental phase over everything, especially with this small, tiny rumor I heard about Resident Evil 9, which is not being really verbalized on the internet at the moment, probably because it's not true. And I most certainly hope it isn't true, but based on the pictures I've seen, I think it's probably false, but we'll get into that later. We already know most of the news regarding Resident Evil 9, the leaks, the potential for a Code Veronica remake, the potential for a Resident Evil 5 remake, all of these things that have been sort of dripping over Twitter and Reddit and all these posts all over the internet. I don't know. Okay. We are at stage A, and I don't know, we've got these leakers all the way at stage, maybe like T, Q, V. I don't know. They're not even at stage Z yet, so we can't say for certain. Or stage X, we can't say for certain that these things are true. The reliability is kind of scarce, but we will get into that. First, I'd like to inform you all that I have recently been recording videos for these streams of mine, which I might be moving over onto X with this announcement that Elon Musk made about streaming on the platform. The reason for that is I feel that Twitch is very bloated at the moment, and same with any of these other streaming services, is they're over bloated with users, and I don't know how this is going to work out with Mr. Musk and the platform X, but it seems like a pretty wild idea that I'd like to try out, and I think a lot of people are going to be heading over there to Twitter for that reason. And I sort of like just keeping Twitter, or X, whatever we call it. I sort of like keeping it as the hub to everything. And I think he's sort of has plans in the future to expand the platform in ways that are going to go beyond like most social media sites. But it's all very experimental. So we'll see where that goes. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into what is riding along in the sort of survival horror meat train. This is the trailer for Slitterhead, which has officially dropped, I guess. I wasn't too excited for this in the beginning, but now that it's here, now that I've seen some actual gameplay footage instead of like the concept idea, I find myself becoming more excited for it. This is from the creator, the director of the Silent Hill series. He also directed Siren, Forbidden Siren, which is also a series that I highly recommend for any horror fan. But it seems like, in my honest opinion, watching some of this gameplay, he wanted a taste of like a sort of like he wanted to get his mitts into like this sort of like Dark Souls type of game. Like that's absolutely what I take away from this, is that it's like a Dark Souls. The Silent Hill guy wanted to get his hands dirty, wet in the sort of Dark Souls, the Souls-like game franchise, and that's totally what I'm picking up from this. Anyways, it's I guess you play as these characters that you're in like this sort of Chinese or Japanese society that's not really named, and there's people who are kind of like this sort of they live situation where it's like they're either average normal human beings or they transform into these horrendous monsters. So I don't know how exactly it's gonna work out, but the idea sounds pretty cool. It might be like you're just walking in town and you occasionally have to deal with like this dangerous ass monster, or it's multiple monsters at a time. Here we have a game that has been on people's radar for a long time now, and I just wanted to put this video out here to sort of dispel it, because I don't think it's legitimate, and a lot of people are at that point to where they don't believe that this is a legitimate game anymore. This is ill, and from any of the footage most people have seen of this game, I mean, it looks phenomenal. It looks spectacular. This scene right here is the only sort of concept of this game that can be
You there, Mike? I made my
remotely legitimate.
on some sort of administrative.
You must excuse me for a moment, because a lot of this game is it's very obvious that it's been animated, and that it's not captured footage of an actual game. Like, this is the only convincing part of it. This entire team is completely supported by Patreon funds, so that in itself is a little bit telling. And the name of the studio, the development team, is Team Clout. I don't know. But the head designer of the game does have, I think it's like excuse me, it's an Instagram account or something where he's posted multiple videos of the sort of animation that he does, and it's, he's apparently very good at creating this sort of grotesque body horror animations, and that's what people are beginning to think, that this whole campaign of his for Ill has been like this 2-3 year long sort of promotion for his work. And I'm beginning to think that too, and it's very upsetting, because what he put out there really had me convinced that this was a legitimate game, that they were going to try something new with survival horror. So I'm completely blown out of the water about it. Very upset. But I mean, the funny thing is, though, the voice actor here,
They were really rushing out of their workday.
he
No, it might be your only way down.
this is the voice actor from Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil 2 remake. So I don't know if that does any justice for any claims of this being a legitimate game. I don't know. But it certainly does give you that glimmer of hope. But I don't think this game is riding off of much at this point. I mean, I think we're beyond any concept of this being a video game. I mean, some of the clips, some of the footage you see about it, like, a lot of it's all over the place and doesn't make like a whole lot of sense, and doesn't seem to tie into being like any sort of video game. Like, and I began having this feeling a couple, maybe like 6 months ago, that I'm like, this game just doesn't seem real. Like, it's too haphazard. Like, the video is like, you have like this town being infected by some sort of parasitic organism that's mutating the people, and they're attacking you, but it also seems to have some sort of weird cosmic space horror sort of thing, with like this like grotesque giant breaking into a kid's window and then dragging his mother out there into this like sort of space like atmosphere. And that's when I began to speculate that this is just some dude promoting his work, and I really think it is. He obviously had the right idea in mind, if that's what he was doing. Now, taking Patreon funds from people, that's a bit shitty. That's actually really shitty to go out there and convince people that you're making this game. I don't know if that's what he's doing, though. But that is the head designer. He has no prior history of creating any sort of game. This would be his first game, so I don't know what you're gonna make of that. But I can tell you at this point, I don't think this is a real game. It's very upsetting, because this guy is an artist. We'll say that, and his art, maybe someday it'll inspire similar games, but I guess there's a clear separation between art and video games, and this is it right here. This is the stake driven between both mediums, and you know, like one's just for looking at and the other's for playing, and we're not getting it. So we're just going to carry on ill. We can check it out in the future, see if anything comes of it. I'm very doubtful. This is I didn't even know they were doing this. I played the 2016 version. I never got around to playing Eternal. It's something just sort of pushed me away from playing Eternal, but this, dude, this is giving me the total same exact vibe from Doom 2016. If not, like, it's like they put it on steroids. So, like, I'm totally fucking loving what I'm seeing here. I think this is going to probably outdo Eternal. Like I said, there's something about Doom Eternal where I just didn't buy it. If that game goes on sale for maybe like $10, I'll give it a shot. I love Doom 2016, but Eternal, something turned me off about it, so I didn't buy it. This, though, and I for some reason, it feels like it's harkening back to the 2016 version. And again, pumping it full of steroids. It's got the badass music. It's got the even more insane weaponry. It's sort of this anachronism where it's like it's mixing like the medieval period with like demons and like this sort of like superior technology the Doom guy has. I don't know what happened to him after Doom Eternal. Obviously, he stepped into some sort of time machine or something. He's in an alternate dimension. I don't know. But this looks so fucking good. I cannot wait. We got all of our friends back. The Doom, the Dark Ages. Yeah, we got all the old demons back, all our old pals. Seems that now it's got this like medieval setting, 2025. But I like the fact that he's got this shield and like it's got like this pole star to it that turns into this like fucking chainsaw. I'm just like, damn, dude. It's just like that chainsaw in the original one, 2016, like in Doom, that was like a sort of primary weapon where you could use it whenever you want. In the 2016 version, I think you had to shoot them up a little bit, and it was like this sort of like final attack that would kill them, so you didn't get to use it often. And I think they're probably going to do the same thing with the shield. Whereas I felt like a little misled with the chainsaw in the first one, I'll be honest. I thought you'd be able to consistently use it, but it was more like a finishing move or something like that. So it makes more sense to do that with the shield this time around, to use as a finishing move, since you're just kind of always lugging it around, and like that seems like a power-up move to pull the choke, and then it grinds up, and now you're sawing them in half. So we'll be looking forward to that coming 2025. I can't fucking wait. I need a good game that I can shut my brain off with. Really, like something that does not force me to concentrate, and where I can just like listen to music or a podcast. And I used to do that with 2016. Just turn on a podcast and just kill monsters. There's really no story for you to absorb in that game. All you do is just kill monsters. I mean, really, that's all you do. Wave after wave of monster. Okay. And next on our list is another unfortunate one that we are beginning. And look at the name of the studio too. You have me bringing up this question of, are these games real or not? The first one is Clout Studio. The second one is Delusional Studio. Okay, so this one though, however, has what appears to be in-game footage. It looks like, I think it's the Unreal Engine. That may have said that already, but this is actual footage. People were being reminded of, like, you know, Silent Hill. This is like a sort of open world game. Don't know what the hell is going on in it, but it's very intriguing. It's about a man who goes back to his hometown, you know, after suffering some sort of accident or loss in his life. And so everything is just basically desolate, and something has happened to the town. It's got some weird paranormal shit going on. But again, this game has been in development for about 3-4 years, and the studio, they might be a little bit more honest than Cloud Studio. They've personally stated that they've been struggling with developing the game. So I think, you know, it's more comforting knowing that, like, this is not this huge attempt to just gain recognition for oneself like it is with the trailers for Ill that have been pumping out, you know, for the last 2.5 years, where it just seems like this guy's just self-promoting himself. I don't know, that could be the take with these guys. It's very, very odd, though, that they come up with these studio names that are just like sort of like laughing at people, if that is the case with these guys. Delusional Studio. Maybe they really are delusional and they think they can finish this game. It's been in the work for quite some time now, and I think that it's had issues with funding and everything, but it looked beautiful on paper, in concept. What we've seen so far was really intriguing, and it stepped out of the normal boundaries for contemporary survival horror games. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, like, this is what like needs to happen. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we're just going to continue to create these walking sims in these Resident Evil styled games, and that's not going to help the survival horror at all. As a matter of fact, video game, the industry is, you know, it's not doing so hot lately with a lot of the modern takes that it's beginning to introduce. Now, some of these takes, like the Silent Hill 2 remake, I think, you know, like, I personally am not like too jaded about it, but I know like a lot of people out there are. And just because I'm not jaded about it doesn't mean that all these other dudes out there aren't. And that's the problem. Once you have like masses of people pissed off about these things, whether you like them or not, they're going to control the future of it. So I'm pretty cool with the Silent Hill 2 remake. I don't really like modern takes on things, or even modern gaming too much, to an extent, but I'm okay with Silent Hill 2. However, a lot of people are really upset about it, and when they're upset about it, they're going to control its destiny. It's the same when they go, the winners write history. So this is what's going to happen. Like, if they don't like it, doesn't give two dog shits less if I like it or not. If they don't like it, then it's going to go down in history as a bad Silent Hill game. That's just the bottom line. So hopefully they can adjust to, I guess Angela looking a little goofy. Maybe Maria didn't show enough skin. I don't know. I get it too. I do agree with a lot of the fans in that one. It's not just me trying to be like some pervy fanboy. No, Maria was supposed to represent James' sort of repressed, over sexualized sense of wanting his wife to be a certain way. Literally, that's not me justifying it in some way so I can just like sit there and like beat off to some 3D girl on a computer screen. No, that's not the point. The point is she is supposed to represent the sort of lust he felt, which is actually making him into a worse person. So that's what it was supposed to represent. But the direction they took her is like, listen, I'm not going to go too deep into it. The direction they took her, I'm fine with it. You know, she really doesn't need to show a whole lot of skin, but if they were to turn around and do that, I would completely understand why they're doing that. And I can also see why some of the fans are upset about that. But like I said, you know, what people are really pissed off about when it comes to that is Angela. And I think the real reason behind it is because that one seems just like way politically motivated to some people. I mean, I think it's more or less, as I said in my previous video, they just want Angela to look like the biggest victim possible. Which would make sense because Angela's a victim. But I could go further into this black hole and tell you even more insane theories of mine, but I'd rather not do that. I just prefer to get on with the video. So that has wronged us. Maybe someday it will grace us with its presence, but I don't have high hopes for it. This is Zoocosis, another more of a cute, sort of horrific experience I'm looking forward to, where you play as a zookeeper, and clearly the animals are infected with some sort of terrible parasite. Don't know what it is. Probably some sort of alien parasite, and it's just wreaking havoc on the zoo. And it is your job to take care of the animals, and probably to ensure that they don't escape into society and spread the alien parasite. So this is, you know, it mostly looks like a walking sim, but there is the use of weapons in it. I've seen some puzzle solving. So I think it's more than that. Pretty twisted. So when it comes to some of these games that are coming out, this one has a bit of a more interesting concept to it, I think, than, oh, you're this lost stranger in, you know, you went into this house where your uncle used to live, and now, like, your retarded sister has emerged from the basement and she's chasing you with a sledgehammer. I mean, that sounds kind of cool. Sorry for my use of the word retard, but that's usually how these horror stories are, you know, started. Like the family has some sort of like deformed child, like, and they keep it in the basement shackled to a wall, and they feed it human flesh and stuff like that, and then it escapes one day. I mean, that's always the story. I mean, but a lot of times they can have a heart of gold. I mean, look at Sloth in the Goonies. Like, you thought he was that flesh-eating monster that his parents locked away, but no, he's actually a pretty good guy. Maybe he just wanted a friend, you know. Or he could be Bobby Burrows from the Clock Tower series, who they didn't keep chained up to a wall. They actually fed into his evil and just pretty much brought women over for him to kill. Wasn't the situation where they kept him locked away in a basement. That's beyond the point. If you think that there's gonna be a Clock Tower trailer in here, you and I are both living in the same fantasy land, because that's not happening. I wish it would, but it's not happening. Go on with this. This is the, I think it's Night Springs, the Alan Wake DLC. I don't know what the hell this is about, but it's definitely got this Twin Peaks vibe to it. I have yet to play Alan Wake 2. This has definitely made me want to go out there and buy it. Again, it's just the Twin Peaks feel to it. So my guess is, and like I said, I have not played Alan Wake 2. I've played the first one. I haven't played the second one, but my guess is Alan Wake still has not escaped from the darkness. The whole town is aware of it, and so they're sending her after him to save him. So she's going into the darkness. That's what I imagine. I still have to play Alan Wake 2, but that's what it seems like is going on. Speaking of which, Alan Wake 2 is on sale right now, so I might get around to doing it. But yeah, I just totally get this David Lynch feel from it. And like, it's just made me absolutely enamored. So I will be out and about purchasing Alan Wake 2, and yeah, this is literally the trailer. There's not much to take away from it. You just know that this waitress is going to go save Alan Wake. That's about the full skinny of it.
Now, who the heck is that?
So what we have here is post-trauma, and this has been in the work for a couple years now. They had a demo, I think.
Where am I?
I don't know if it was on Steam or if they just, you know, they released it and gave it to like a few people, a few content creators or something like that. But last time I checked, you know, it wasn't on, the demo wasn't on Steam. I don't know if you can get it from their website or what, but
This is just us and our gloom.
the thing with this game is it's sort of like, I'm gonna say Tormented Souls. This is obviously an indie title, and it's going to harken back to
You think you can
the
escape
survival
what you
horror
have done?
era, the golden years, I guess we'll call them, when you had the fixed camera angles and the dark storylines that were sort of surreal and very nightmarish. Whereas Tormented Souls was a good game, very good. I loved it, but I wouldn't call it memorizing like Silent Hill or memorizing like Resident Evil. It was very good, but in many elements, it was almost like a mockery, because it just took like the survival horror theme and pushed it to an extreme. Despite being a mockery, it was very good. You know, it was a very good mockery of survival horror games. That's honestly how I felt about it. It was very cheesy in many ways, but that cheesiness is what made me love it, and I think that's what made everyone else so attached to it. It had a certain magnetic charm to it, and like I literally couldn't get away from it. I played it for like 2 days straight. When I first heard about it, I'm like, what are people yapping about when it comes to with this game? And it wasn't until I tried it that I'm like, wow, you know, everything about it, you know, didn't even really have solid gameplay, but we loved it anyways. And I think that this is kind of going to be amped up to be sort of like the same sort of game, where it's just like it's gonna kind of sit on that pedestal that Tormented Souls did, which is good because we could use another game like that. But I don't know if this is gonna be anything like crazy, like, you know, like if it's gonna be a game changer or anything. I don't think it'll be that. But people have been talking about it for a good while now. I'm very curious what it's about. My only concern is, yeah, I hope we have another Tormented Souls, but I hope this time around it has a more coherent story that, like, you know, like, because you watch the trailer to this game, you're wondering what's going on. I'm like, okay, maybe it's something really fucking groovy. And then you play it and you're like, okay, it's just kind of cheesy filler storyline, you know, like Tormented Souls was. It was, you know, like Tormented Souls had a really good air of mystery to it. But it was just this filler, cheesy survival horror storyline, and like that's kind of what I'm hoping this game is not, because it does have this intriguing setup to it where, okay, what the fuck is going on? You know, like, and instead of giving me this weird sort of like corn-based filler, just give me a good fucking story. So that's what I'm looking forward to with this, just to see what the hell it's about, and it's going to be coming out pretty soon here. I'm stoked. I hope you're stoked. We'll see what it turns out. And that's about it. So I guess we're going to get into the news about Resident Evil. Talk of fucking Tinseltown. So, anyways, where do I begin with this? I guess I will show you the first thing that is probably a rumor, but at the same time, probably isn't. So Asia Play, or Play Asia, some game retail outlet that's online. I don't know if it's geared towards a Japanese audience or what, but they posted this. Or they put this listing on their website. So it's known as Resident Evil 9 Revenant Shadow. So this could very well be the cover to Resident Evil 9. We have what looks like Leon on the cover. That could be Jill in the back, but I'm very skeptical about this. This is listed on a website, though, that is a legitimate game retailer, so I guess it is. So it could be that Capcom has, you know, very subtly given us the cover and the title of the game. I mean, it's all but confirmed at this moment, but I don't know if you can take this seriously or not. I don't know if this came from Dusk Golem or any of the other leakers. Again, like, we can't put a whole lot of faith into them, you know. And the thing with like Resident Evil 8, I mean, I remember hearing about it, you know, like hearing like, okay, vampires and werewolves are going to be in this game. I remember hearing about it, and the only thing I could conceptualize in my mind was like this sense of disbelief. And I don't know if it was because I couldn't believe that sort of thing was going to be in a Resident Evil game, or if I just didn't see that game in the near future. I don't know, but the game came and it had the vampires and it had the werewolves. So I'm just saying that there was that level of disbelief with Resident Evil 8, and I thought that I would never see it, regardless of me being like, okay, well, here's this window of time. I don't see that happening within this time frame. I don't know if I thought I was going to die or if the world was going to end or what, but I guess it was just the idea of hearing something like that. You wouldn't think that you would actually ever see it, but lo and behold, you did. So I guess the number one thing people are saying that they can't believe or that they don't want to see is, and people have been saying this, is the game, again, this is from Dusk Golem, I believe, and he said multiple things at this point, you know, everything from they're remaking Resident Evil 0 to they're remaking Resident Evil 5 and Code Veronica. Apparently, there is, well, let me start by saying this first. This game is going to take place in Singapore. You're going to be playing as Leon, apparently. He's going to be like in his 50s, and all the other characters in this game are going to be in their 50s, damn near their 60s. And I think a lot of people don't want to see this. You know, in fact, I've heard some people out there who are fans of the series saying that they don't want to see this. They just don't want to watch these characters get old, but like, you sort of have to. You know, that's the way the game has been taking itself for, you know, the last 30 years, is that you've grown with these characters and you've watched them grow old. Now, I think the people who don't want to watch them grow old are probably the new generation fans that don't want to see it happen. But that's just it's supposed to represent the process of life, and you know, I don't necessarily want to see it either, but I think that's probably what's going to happen. The last Resident Evil game we played, Chris Redfield, what? He was in his 50s? I'm pretty sure he was in his 50s in that one, so you can only go up from there. I don't know what else to tell you. So we're going to be seeing soon enough, I guess the youngest person would probably be Sherry. Yeah. She'd be the only spring chicken, would be Sherry and Rebecca. I don't know if Rebecca's younger than Claire. I think they're about the same age, but yeah. So you'd have Chris, Leon, Jill. Barry would be like in his 60s. So that's something I guess some of the fans don't want to see. Again, they're stating that this is going to be open world, which I'm not too adverse to. You have to take a look back to Resident Evil 8 and realize that was, in many ways, it was like semi-open world, because you could go back to the village and technically go places beyond the main storyline to obtain things and do things, which is, you know, very prevalent in an open world game. And you could sort of do the same in Resident Evil 4 for a moment. I remember thinking this. I don't know why other people have not said it, but Resident Evil 2. I don't know why people haven't said it. Resident Evil 2, when you're in the police station, that always felt like an open world to me. Sure, it did not have side quests. The most side quests you could get out of that was going up to those lockers and figuring out the combinations. That was like the most side quest thing you could do, or get that weird thing you used to like open doors. That was like a weird number code or something like that. But that felt open world to me. That was my favorite part about Resident Evil 2, was the police station. I felt that after the police station, that game just sort of went downhill. But yeah, they're saying that it's going to be open world. Now, I don't know if Dusk Golem is sort of like who's that that spiritual medium guy, that crossing over guy, where he's like, oh, is there Peter here? Oh, I'm Peter. Oh, hi, Peter. Your like dead wife. Oh, sure, her name is Julia. And you're like, oh, how'd you know? Like, I don't know if that's who Dusk Golem is. I'm beginning to kind of think that that's who he is. He's sort of like that guy, where he can just he has some sort of mathematical equation in his head where he just figures these things out. I mean, that could be the reality of things, and then he just sits there and takes a gamble and just throws all this shit at you to just kind of like trick you into thinking that he figured it out, when it's just like clearly like this weird subterfuge he's using to just get attention from you. That could be the case, or he has legitimate connections to the people. I don't know. But the open world thing, I think it's more than likely going to happen. It's going to be open world, but I don't think it's going to be like Grand Theft Auto or Elder Scrolls Oblivion open world. Like I think people are thinking that in their minds, and it's not going to be that grandiose. Okay, it's going to be more like Resident Evil 8. Maybe they're going to up the scale on it a little bit. You realize, you have to realize how much work goes into developing a video game, and how much work it would go into developing the sort of open world setting for Resident Evil being made by Capcom, and making it like proportional to like Skyrim, Elder Scrolls Skyrim, making it like that big of a map. Like, they're not going to do that. Do you know how much time, effort, money, and resources that would cost? And Capcom's more focused on making, the game more of a survival horror game than it is like an open world RPG. I think they're just trying to blend those two worlds into the sort of perfect medium that they can, and I hope they do that. I hope it's like Resident Evil 7, but with a bigger map. And I think that's what they're going to do. It's not going to be like you're going to go talk to some NPC in fucking like one of the fucking worlds of one of the in Tamriel or something like that, and he's going to give you some fetch quests. It's not going to be that. And if you think that, and I don't know, maybe it will be. Maybe I'm totally wrong about this, but I do see it becoming that. That's more than likely going to be an open world game. I think that he's right about that one. So I'm still looking forward to it. The bad news is that it might be pushed back to 2026, and I mean, the reason I have a problem with that is because also listed on PlayAsia is a remaster of Resident Evil 0, and I believe it is for Resident Evil 5. They have a listing for Resident Evil 5, like a 2025 version or something like that, but the listing for Resident Evil 0 is listed as a remaster, a HD remaster. So they're going to be wasting their time with that, remastering Resident Evil 0. And keep in mind that this is not a remake. They're just going to make it HD for you. And this is, just a way of getting money out of you. Like, really, you can already buy a remastered version of Resident Evil on Steam. So I don't know what this leak is pertinent to. This is apparently on PlayAsia. I don't know how they could sit there and remaster it a second time, because as far as I'm concerned, that is listed on Steam as a remaster, unless I'm wrong. I have the original Resident Evil remaster on my Steam account, but I don't know how many times you can remaster a game and expect it to work. But it sounds like more than likely Resident Evil 5 is being remade. It wasn't listed as a remaster, so I don't know the full scoop on things. This is all just up in the air. It's complete fucking speculation. Don't quote me on anything. It's all very fuzzy at the moment, but I don't think we are getting a Code Veronica remake. I don't think it's happening. Unfortunately, I don't. I think what they are going to do is they're going to cater to the younger fans, because I think there's more of a demand, and there's more of a gain of revenue in remaking Resident Evil 5 than there is making Code Veronica. And I've stated this before. I think it would take way more work to do Code Veronica because Code Veronica was a more complex storyline. That game has been forgotten for so many years now. They'd have to dig up files from the Dreamcast era. I mean, you're going all the way back to the Dreamcast era. They don't want to do that. They want to take the easy route that makes them a lot of money. So they're going to give us a Resident Evil 5 remake. The only good thing about that is, like, oh, and some people are saying this, Resident Evil 5 is not a great game, so here's their opportunity to sharpen it up. Great. Like I said, I don't think we're getting the Code Veronica remake. It's too complex of a storyline, too complex of characters. I mean, it's a crazy game. It's really off the chart when it comes to the series of Resident Evil. So I don't think we're getting that. And I think part of the reason that Resident Evil 9 is being pushed back to 2026, and that's the rumor. It's not official yet, that they might be pushing it back to 2026. The initial release is like 2025 or something like that, but it sounds like it's going to be back in 2026. I think the reason for doing that is, honestly, so they can work on Resident Evil 5. And so they can push off the inevitable, you know, and that's because that's what people really want more than anything, is they want to see Resident Evil 9. And so they're trying to delay the inevitable by giving us this fucking Resident Evil 5 remake. You know, like, I think that's what they're going to use to distract us. I might be wrong, but it sounds like that they're remastering Resident Evil 0 again, and they're giving us a Resident Evil 5 remake, and they're going to push off Resident Evil 9 until 2026. So, way to go, Capcom. Thank you, Dust Golem, and all you leakers out there. It's going to be a shit show for Resident Evil for like the next 2.5 years. It's not going to be anything that is at all reminiscent of like these last few titles that we've had. I honestly think we've got more hope with the Silent Hill 2 remake at this point. You can call me every name in the book and say that I'm wrong, and you can say that I'm this, you can say that I'm that. I just I don't know. We've been hearing so much about Resident Evil. It could literally be anything at this point, but I do think there is some legitimacy to Dust Golem. Capcom is aware that he's exposing these things, and so Capcom they're just constantly trying to distract us, feed him false information, feed him this information, so they go and play Asia to get him to take our attention there. I don't know. We really don't know, but I don't want to be too much of a cynic about it. But yeah, you know, I think what I really wanted more than anything was not Resident Evil 9, but the Code Veronica remake. And I just don't think we'll ever see it. The only way we will ever get a chance at seeing a Code Veronica remake is if someone literally goes out there and does the same thing that they did with Resident Evil 2. Because that's what sparked the Resident Evil 2 remake, was some guy went out there and he started remaking it. And if they went out there and started remaking Code Veronica, Capcom would see that and they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Take that down, please. Take that down, please. We're remaking it. That's exactly what they would do. So I think that's really the only way to get a Code Veronica remake, is for some brave young strapping man to go out there, you know, and take the bull by the horns and start remaking this game so it catches the ire of Capcom with all their fire and fury. And so they can just sit there and drive a nail into it and tell them, no, we're going to send you a nasty letter. No, we'll sue you. No, we're making it. Fuck you. And that's what they'll do. Anyways, I'm Master Caticle. This has been the Horror Report. Thank you for watching. Please leave me a comment, and I will see you next time.